Hi there. I'm truly honored and privileged for being able to participate even through this distant and remote tool at the third International Conference on Artificial Intelligence Humanities. First of all, I want to express my gratitudes for our dear colleagues from the organizing committee and the university, to Yvonne at first place, who I met last year in Rijeka, in Croatia, at another AI-related conference, and also to Professors Q. Lee and Kim, who were our guests here in Belgrade and who visited us in January this year before the whole shutdown and the collapse of our global planning and all arrangements. My name is Dobrivoje Lale and I'm an art historian by education, and I'm working for almost a full decade at the Center for the Promotion of Science in Belgrade, Serbia. If you are maybe not familiar with our part of the world, I want to show you this map of Europe with our country. Serbia is a relatively small country with around 7 million inhabitants. We have the major capital city of Belgrade, which has almost 2 million people live in. However, there are other university centers and important educational and research points in our country, and you can see on this map who they are. Center for the Promotion of Science has been established in 2010 by the government of the Republic of Serbia under the Ministry of Education and Science, which is a current name of this ministry, with a goal to increase scientific literacy in our country, in our community, to better represent, express and share results, values, findings of our researchers and of our scientific culture in general, and also to align science, nowadays contemporary science and scientific achievements, with the needs and wishes and goals and expectations of our society. In that context, actually, we are a public entity who is undertaking a really diverse range of activities in order to address those topics. Currently, for last couple of years, our major focus is given towards climate issues on one hand and towards artificial intelligence on others, as two biggest, very specific challenges which are encompassing both super technologies on one side, however on the other side something that we have to address together, having of course scientific knowledge as a starting point, as a starting element. When programming our activities here in Serbia, we are taking into account the existing knowledge, existing practices, how to involve research community in the process, how to communicate their perception of specific topics. At the same time, however, we are also involving different and other stakeholders which are relevant for each of those topics or maybe for some other programs. I will just give you a few examples. For instance, the most popular program that we are doing in Serbia since the very beginning is called Main Month of Mathematics, and it is done in the collaboration with the Mathematical Institute of the Serbian Academy of Sciences and Arts, which is the largest math institute in our country. And actually, the need for establishing this kind of program was, from one hand, to represent better math as a school subject in our community, because there is a huge discrepancy between the results of the most talented kids on one hand and the majority of kids who have serious issues while learning about math and practicing in schools. And on the other hand, actually, the idea was actually to represent one fundamental science and its relations with other sciences, with the humanities, with the social sciences as well, even with arts and with many other manifestations in our daily lives. On the other hand, some other programs maybe have relations, for instance, with the CERN as a major European particle physics facility in Europe, or maybe with robotics, because there are some roots in our research community which are linking robotics developments in the last decades with current achievements at global level. In doing so, of course, we established a very good network of partners, colleagues, associates at national level, also at regional level, which we're very proud of, but also at European level and global level. However, here in Europe we have very good, very generous opportunities through different European programs which are funded by European Commission and in which we are participating since the very beginning of our existence. In last decade, actually, we have over 35 projects funded through different of those programs and calls, and some of them are helping us actually to establish new type of activities, new kind of programs in order to address those very urgent needs. In that sense, in 2016, after our initial involvement in our first art and science project called European Digital Art and Science Network, we were able to establish Art plus Science program as our own brand, our own program activity, in order to bring together those at first hand maybe opposing communities, but actually communities who need to collaborate to share their knowledge and practices, and also those who can produce joint results which are truly relevant and needed for our communities nowadays. In this context, our major partner is the Ars Electronica from Linz in Austria, which is a major global point in bringing together and actually colliding people coming from arts, from sciences, from new and emerging technologies, and actually creators and professionals of all kinds. After first art and science project, we got involved into another similar project called Quantum Music, where actually the quantum physics was merged with contemporary music and with an idea to create a completely new musical genre. Ultimately, that led us in 2018 to joining another still active project called European Artificial Intelligence Lab, where actually all those existing art and science practices and all those attempts that we are testing, applying in our environment have been directly focused towards artificial intelligence. So all those wide areas of engagement are now much more centralized and actually much more dedicated toward the AI, which we identify as a major goal of our activities nowadays, and with a field that has such a huge potential for our communities from many perspectives, but at the same time it also poses a serious threat and a serious challenge for our community to understand on one hand, and on the other hand actually to be able to cope with. Our idea isn't just to praise it and to use it as a super technology which will impress our audiences. Rather, we are open for a critical perception and critical understanding and critical analysis of its achievements and its scope, in order actually to provide our audience with the tools for its better understanding and eventually for its application in their local contexts. And on the other hand, actually for a sort of journey where we can together explore potentials. As I've told earlier, in 2016 we established our own Art plus Science program, and since then we were able to produce, to create, or to bring to Serbia and present really various artworks or, let's say, creative projects from all over the globe. The idea actually is to combine, to mix products and artworks from our own local actors on the AI scene, but also on the other side actually to be able to compare it with some global developments, and also to bring people for better networking and for exchange of knowledge and practices in order actually to create original content out of that. And since 2016 you can see really plurality of approaches, ideas, backgrounds, maybe even some quite alternative ways how to discuss and analyze possible relations between art and science. In this context, it is truly intriguing and inspirational to present our guests from Korea who were part of our program in 2017. A Korean duo Shin Seung-bak, Kim Yong-hun, and I hope I pronounced that in a decent manner, presented two artworks in Belgrade, Flower and Cat or Human, which are quite, let's say, traditional art pieces, but the advanced technologies are truly embedded into their creation. By using facial recognition system on one hand and visual learning methods and computer vision, actually they are presented quite obvious objects, flowers, cats, human heads, but from a perspective of an basic AI system. Bringing Korean artists to Serbia was possible in collaboration with the Korean embassy here in Belgrade, and they were also part of the Days of Korean Culture. So it was truly another interesting context to discuss about differences and similarities between our cultures and actually how we can maybe establish better relations. We also organized two master classes or workshops which were conducted by Korean artists for the art students at the University of Arts in Belgrade and also at the Arts Academy in Novi Sad, also in Serbia. However, in this context, it's really necessary to emphasize it and to elaborate a bit how we are developing our own original artworks. We have two major national selections which are creating original attempts, approaches. They're actually analyzing possibilities of multidisciplinary research teams. One of them is actually bringing together artists who are applying for open calls inside those projects, and we are matching them with adequate research teams, research groups. That's how two artworks were produced in last 2 years. The first one I want to present you now, it's called Digital Prayer by young artist Kristina Tica. It is actually analyzes our own very traditional heritage of Orthodox icons and the possibility of their reproductions through use of AI-based system. Her artwork was developed in a collaboration with the Mathematical Institute of the Serbian Academy of Sciences and Arts, and one of their researchers was her direct scientific mentor. On the other side, last year, our artist, musician, Jasna Jovicevic, had a really fantastic opportunity to be for almost 6 months part of a research group at the Faculty of Electrical Engineering, a member of the University of Belgrade. She was exploring possibility of applying the mapping, the real-time mapping of brain waves through a musical form which is quite deliberately improvised at one hand, but on the other it is actually a response towards the mapping of brain waves, of several types of brain waves. In that sense, the live performance I Sit and Worry for her was executed and performed originally at the Gallery of Science and Technology, and you can see some footages from that event. The second selection and artworks produced by CPN are actually starting to emerge here at our science club, which is part of CPN premises. Through a series of workshops, we are bringing together professionals of all kind who are invited to respond to specific themes and topics. At the beginning, it's functioning quite artificially because it's not so easy to bring together so many people and also to facilitate this kind of dialogue. However, throughout the process, small teams are getting together, and actually they are proposing further development of initial ideas. I want to present you two artworks which are created throughout the process. The first one is actually created in the form of an mobile application called AIVI. It is based on an idea to explore together the background of artificial intelligence in our eminent surrounding, in the central zones of Belgrade. What elements of the AI we can find in some major institutions around, and how we can actually address and analyze systems of control, systems of surveillance, and also how we can apply that really big knowledge which is gathered by data collection on one side, and also on the analysis of this data and its further deployment in different contexts. The second work is actually dealing with one very serious issue that we are facing in Belgrade, like in many other major towns across the globe, and this is air pollution. The, again, multidisciplinary team behind the work, Aerosonar, is using real-time data monitored by mobile boxes across the Belgrade in order to actually represent it by a quite different medium. Usually we can smell air pollution, and unfortunately sometimes even we can see it. However, in this context, authors are giving an alternative version for perception. They're actually offering a sound behind the air pollution, and by a sonification or air pollution data, actually we can have another level of understanding that truly serious problem in our surrounding. When we were starting with planning our programs in 2020, in the second half of last year, actually we have completely different program in mind, different framework and ideas and background. However, due to global shutdown and everything we faced recently, we needed to alternate our original plans. Therefore, fifth edition of our Art and Science program took place in Belgrade, but also in two other major cities, in Trieste in Italy, as a part of largest European scientific conference called Euroscience Open Forum, or ESOF, and also in Linz at the festival Ars Electronica, which predominantly had this year a virtual form. The main event of the program was the exhibition 1.0, and you can see some footages and photos from that event, which was conceived at the end and conceptualized with the idea to tackle, analyze, and discuss this very unique moment of our existence. It is more a sort of a sequence of time than a firm, compact event. By means of limitless artistic creativity and really strong scientific foundation and use of advanced technologies embodied through all those AI systems, all involved actors, artists and scientists at first place, and researchers and the community in general were unified around the idea to analyze this very moment. The results were presented in a numerous ways, at first place in virtual form, and this, however, also raised one important existential question: how to treat digital content which obtained its physical representation only for being retransferred again to a virtual realm. We were forced actually to halt the progress of our network and our activities in 2020. A very sad year, 2020, showed so many sums of our fears and actually emphasized so many of our shortcomings, misconceptions, prejudices, even corruptions and superficialities in our global community. It undermined as well our belief in knowledge as a humankind and as a civilization capable of astonishing achievements. Our technology-powered and knowledge-based societies literally collapsed thanks to something with just a couple of features, something which is on the edge between living and artificial. We instantly forgot all the past and years, decades, centuries even of constant progress, and we were blocked by something completely unseen. Our systems of belief have been hacked by a clearly alternative way of thinking and better applied intelligence. That intelligence is binary, and it has, of course, only positive and negative solutions. Not to exist isn't really an option, and we should try to observe ourselves through that principle. Therefore, another question emerges: how to proceed further, how to continue our activities, and how to identify ourselves in this new reality, in this dichotomy, where we are on one hand facing the basic living creature, a virus, and also how to treat super technology like artificial intelligence. In 2021, we are planning to finally bring together all those planned artworks and people standing behind and researchers and many guests. It should be a festival-like event which will encompass several exhibitions, one large international conference here in Belgrade, and I hope that some of you will be our guests in this occasion, and also quite a strong direct educative program for young generations, especially for students of art faculties, for scientific faculties as well, for younger people to empower them by our knowledge and by our understanding and idea how to analyze and how to critically observe AI developments. We also have some very important plans for the following year, for 2022, where actually here in Serbia we will have a European capital of culture, city of Novi Sad, and we are developing joint program based on AI and climate issues in this context. We need to work as well on novel formats. We need to identify and develop frameworks which will work in this context, but also programs which will be attractive for new audiences. We truly need to invite many people on board without a relevance of their background and what they are doing. The AI is truly something important and relevant, and it can strongly influence on our lives and even basic everyday activities. AI needs true, realistic societal recognition and valorization, and its values and meaning should be integrated into formal educational processes as well. However, informal educative formats targeting all ages should be stimulated, maybe even at first place as well. It could even become a driving force of the STEAM educational framework that we are assessing and discussing also at many levels. The ultimate goal of artificial intelligence would be to create all-encompassing means capable of solving any issue that we are facing as a civilization. It was somehow foreseen that AI will represent a human plus intelligence. But what if for our world, or for any world that we are capable to imagine, there is a much better protagonist, or better to say, much more compatible option? Less destroyer, more upgrader. I want to thank you for your attention, and I do hope that we'll be able to collaborate much more actively, directly, and without this distance in the future. Thank you.